All
Hey
right.
everybody, it's a nice Sunday and it's Happy Father's Day and it's the first week of having the view counts removed from ArtStation, and welcome to the radio channel ArtStation. For anyone who's not watching the video, you can download our podcast as MP3 in the future. And here we have a special guest, Terence Cantal from France.
Hello.
He is the lead artist, also art director, working in the studio Pretty Simple, which is my boss, and I'm sucking up to him right now. So,
Pan the camera so we can see.
Yeah, he's right here. Oh, right here. All right. So, introduce yourself for us, s'il vous plaît.
So I'm Terry. Sorry for my English, it's not perfect because I'm French. I've been working in Pretty Simple. It's been 3 years now. It's my first job in the industry. I went to the same school as you guys, Fangzhou School of Design. That's pretty much it. I'm now lead artist at Pretty Simple, which is a mobile game company based in Paris. Yeah, that's about it.
So, originally, which part of France are you from?
Oh wow, Mont-de-Marsan. So some nice French name. My father was in the military, which means I've always been traveling around. So yeah, I don't come from one special place in France, even if I wish I was a real Parisian, but that's not the case.
So before you came to FTD, he was a paratrooper in the French army. And was it hard for you to transition from a military background to an artist background?
Yeah, actually it was. It's actually a funny story, because it all happened like when I was in Africa. I was deployed in Africa at some point, and I had a little tabletop near my bed where I was sleeping, and I knew I wanted to stop the military at the time, and I just opened the drawer, and there was this Adobe Photoshop magazine, and it was really random because actually I never like considered drawing or living as an artist or whatnot. And basically, it's like there could have been anything in that drawer, and I would have purchased this as a career. But it was a Photoshop magazine, and I kind of realized that all the movies and all the video games I played, actually people were paid to design everything behind it, to like draw the characters we all loved when we were children. And I started drawing pretty late. I was 22, 23. I'm now 28. And best decision ever. But it's pretty hard, from army to artist. Like when I do interviews, the people are always very suspicious.
So before you went to FTD, you researched about how difficult and how much discipline it takes and how many hours you need to dedicate each day. And how did you prepare for that?
Honestly, most of it came from discipline I had in the army that helped a lot because I always knew how to stay focused, and I knew I didn't have an advantage in like I was in competition with people who had maybe been drawing all their lives. So I just tried to be very disciplined about the way I approached everything and made it work. Also knew I needed a bit of education to. I actually believe you can do everything by yourself and be self-taught, but I also think it's tricky to not have like a solid foundation. And going to NZD was actually the way of understanding where to go or what to do. And I realized how much people worked as artists. It's not like you're walking next to a park and find the inspiration and do awesome art. It's tougher than that.
So Daddy was in the army, and have you been anywhere else? Have you been moving around besides France due to that?
Oh yeah, a lot. Well, mostly Africa. Like, are we talking like military or?
Oh, I mean, in general, in your life.
Yeah, actually, I've been moving. Yeah, I've been to the States. I've been all over Europe. And then I went to the army and moved all around Africa. So, I've been on all continents now, which is, yeah, I'm happy about this achievement.
Is Singapore the first Asian country you've been to?
It is, and Singapore, it was amazing. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time. Even if, I mean, you guys can tell as well, like you don't really see much of Singapore when you study there, but yeah, nonetheless, a really cool experience.
You missed the food?
The food, the best.
Which one?
Food court. The one near Bugis? No.
Amoy?
Yeah, Amoy. Amoy was awesome.
So you also went to Bali a couple of times with your wife?
Yeah, on the holidays.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw you were torturing that monkey. He was like chasing this turtle and taking a picture of it and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, we were chilling together. I was like not hunting it, but definitely goes faster than I do.
So after you graduated FCD, you went back to France and you had to do freelance for a little while, right?
Yeah, the tricky thing is like when you go out of school, I don't know how it was for you guys, but when you go out of school, you need a job, but you also need to, after a whole intense year at school, you need to get your resources back. You need to work on portfolio again and try to apply everything you learned, basically. The way it happened for me is I needed a job in France, and it's actually super hard because in France, basically, there's Paris, and that's it. Like, there's no other work available in the rest of France. I don't know. I think it's like if you're in the US, for example, I think you can work on the west side of the US, the east side. How does it go? I think you can pretty much work anywhere, right? You got studios everywhere.
Oh, there's a number of studios kind of across the U.S. I guess the more central area would be like L.A. and California, but there's studios all over. There's studios in like Austin, Texas. There's studios over even on the East Coast and stuff.
Yeah, so that means you could pretty much work anywhere. The issue with I think a lot with Europe is you have the major cities like London, Paris, and then any other major city in Europe. And then it's pretty, there's no real studios. Maybe you've got emerging studios like startups and whatnot, but you don't have that much studios all over Europe. So yeah, when in my situation, I had to think whether I needed to stay in France because of my girlfriend, but at the same time, it would have been a good career decision to try my luck in Asia or in the US. And I'm lucky I found this job in Paris because there's not that much companies even there. And I started as a 2D artist at Pretty Simple Games.
So speaking of freelancing, I hear that at least in France, you need to get a license to work as a freelancer. How does that go? Like, what's the requirement? What's the hassle?
So there's if you ever work in France, you know that the worst thing ever is the administration. French administration is like, I think, one of the worst on the planets. It's very heavy in terms of what you need to do, to the amount of paperwork. So it's very hard to get an official status for freelance. And then France is extremely taxed. So basically everything you win, I don't know how it works in other countries. So that's just from my experience in France. You're basically taxed by 50%, which counts everything in. So yeah, it's pretty heavy, and it's also hard to find French freelance. So you're usually working with other countries with different timelines, just like any other freelances. But yeah, it's a hard status to go by and to have workload and. Because that's okay if you have your work thing going, that's okay, but it's mostly the paperwork you need to do behind that's pretty heavy. I don't know if it's like this in other countries, by the way, if it's that heavy administratively.
What about over there, Cole?
Not really. I mean, I guess kind of in the States, if you want to freelance, like, I mean, you got to do your taxes a different way because you're self-employed, but it's not that difficult. I mean, a lot of the times employers will send you a 1099, which is kind of what you need for the taxes, but I would say it's pretty simple.
Hey, pretty simple. Being corporate.
So when you came to Pretty Simple, what's the first thing you worked on?
So I actually did all the the steps of the ladder as an artist here. I started as a 2D artist. I was basically doing assets and characters. I started moving into doing environments afterwards, which is kind of considered an upgrade here. And then I started working with the the art director, the previous lead artist, and working a lot with him. He thought I was pretty reliable because I was pretty much up to the task on anything, and yeah, he moved me to his position, and so yeah, from 2D artist to lead artist in I guess a year and a half, 2 years.
So we're here to more focus on the art director, lead artist position and how it's like
Yep.
for everyone who's interested in going through that path in their career.
Mhm.
What is your daily function as an art director?
My daily function is to make sure everything is up to standards visually. So I go through everything that artists do. I work with 10 to 15 artists, depending on there's several teams.
I think your mic's scratching a little bit on your.
Sorry, at the beard. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Okay. Yes, so I'm working with 10 to 15 people, and I'm just my job is to make sure that everything they do is up to standards, to my standards and to the company's standards. This is the number one thing. The other thing is also management in terms of planning, making sure planning works out, and making sure I'm basically the link between the art team and any other team, whether it's the developer team or producers or mission designers, narratives. And yeah, so I'm basically this link between everything.
Mhm.
Not yet a technical artist because I'm really bad at all the technical side of things, but yeah, I need to at least know everything that's going on and find solutions. It's basically day-to-day problem solving.
And also, most of us know that most companies do a lot of outsourcing.
Mhm.
If they're like don't have time to finish a certain project, or if they need extra manpower. So Terence also does communication with all the outsourcing companies overseas as well. So he not only he manages the in-house people, he also manages the
Yeah.
out-house people, and also trying to keep everything in the same quality. That should be a lot of stress sometimes.
It is. It kind of peaks, and yeah, it's different. Like here, it's pretty simple. The way it works, basically, if there's nothing, if you have no work at some points, it kind of means that you did your job okay. I'm not saying that yeah you're never working or whatnot, but you're always trying to avoid problems before they appear, and yeah, you need to basically rally everyone under the same vision, whether it's outsourced people that are in a different time zone, in-house artists with different capacities, and yeah, you need to make everything work out. So it's sometimes a puzzle, but it's pretty interesting, honestly. Yeah.
So Terence is basically sitting between the artists and the producers and the directors. So he's the guy who is also looking up and looking down in the hierarchy. You know, he's right in the middle. It's almost like the keystone type of job. Okay, so what would you consider the most easy to handle problem, and what is kind of the most difficult problem to handle, if you remember any?
I'd say the easiest would be anything art related, which is it sounds stupid, but you don't do that much art when you're the artists. You basically make sure everyone else does his job correctly. So yeah, everything related to art, like finding visual solutions, benchmarking qualities. This is like the easiest and the coolest, and the hardest, I guess. And sometimes ego is hard. I don't have this much issue, but sometimes it's hard to because we're not managers. Like you become manager, but we're not like we didn't go to management school or anything. So it's sometimes hard to work with certain people. But it's actually I don't face this much at all. To be fair, I have a really cool team, and they're all very hardworking and very. They find solutions for themselves as well, so that's really cool. They're really reliable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess if you had like someone like that has ego in your team, that might be like a bit tricky to work with.
There is a lot of delegation going on. Like sometimes let's say each artist have like different strengths and specialties. For example, some people are really good at like background sketches. Some people are really good at whichever, right? So Terry also needs to keep an eye on all these people and when they're finishing and when they're lagging, and he needs to delegate all this. Like if somebody's sick, or if somebody has to leave, or somebody had technical difficulties, or if, let's say, the producers and directors didn't like what they did and they have to restart, he will be usually the one to come and say, okay, you do that, you do this, I'll take over that, you do that. So it's almost like juggling all the time, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the main requirements as a lead artist is like flexibility. I guess it's you need to be very reactive on anything.
And you need to be very patient.
Yeah.
As a human manpower management kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. So also, as also lead artist, I also noticed that Terence tend to take one of the most heavy lifting works, also in the art side of things. Like he would draw the most detailed maps, for example. He would decide what's the detail level going to be on certain, like especially in the development phase. So yeah, not only on top of human management, he also does that as well. So
yeah, that's cool. The way I see things, and it's good because our team really thinks this way as well. Is like we always aim higher than what is expected from us, and even if we hit slightly below, it's still okay because it's going to be really really good work. But yeah, we try to always hit higher than what is expected from us, which is I think it's a good credo to live by in the industry.
Can I ask, so what's your daily routine like? Can you sort of walk us through your job from a day-to-day basis, from maybe the time you get to work to the time you leave, or even what you think about at home?
Mm-hmm. Um, Coffee first. Well, I always arrive 3 to 4 hours before work starts. So we start at 10 a.m. So I usually arrive between 6 or 7 a.m.
Mm.
Um, this is generally my time to chill because I don't have like as a lead artist, I don't have that much time to draw or paint or anything. So this is generally my time for me to basically draw what I want to do, and that's no one's here. The open space is free, so that's pretty cool. At 10, well, before 10, before everyone arrives and they start, well, coffee, second coffee, a third coffee. Um, Basically, I have to-do lists I have very organized plannings and schedules I need to do and post-its all over the table on things I need to check up on and do. This generally this is like all the problem solving aspect of things. I check everyone's plannings and make sure everyone knows what needs to be done and is everyone ready? Is everyone here? Is someone sick? Do we need to finish this for that period of time? And so on. This is what happens in the morning. I usually do a lot of meetings. I tend to do 4 to 5 a day, where I try to. It could be any kind of meeting. Basically, it could be management meeting, link between teams meetings. So yeah, that's the basic morning, and in the afternoon it's all about execution. If I have time for myself, I try to move on some stuff because teams have their own plannings and they need to do assets and environments and characters. But there's also other type of assets that need to be done for the game itself. It could be anything. It could be UI, it could be maps, it could be main characters, concepting, or marketing, anything. And these need to be done. If someone can do it with me or has his planning free, he'll be doing it with me. And yeah, and that's all for the afternoon. We finish at 6:30 with a 1 hour 30 break in the middle.
Okay.
So, Terry, for anyone who has the aspirations to become a lead artist, or somebody who wants to go at the management position in the art department,
Mm.
what would be the attitude and approach and sacrifice and general tendency to achieve the goal?
What I did and what I would do again, if I were to start over again or whatnot, it's overcommitting. You show that you have really faith inside your products and the product of what your company is doing, because you need to be passionate about what you're doing for people to trust you, like directors. So I think overcommitting. When I started coming and they told me, yeah, you have 4 weeks to do this. This is in your planning to do it in 4 weeks. I would actually try to do it in one. So I would stay up late and stay up and yep, make sure it's all good, perfect, nothing to be said, and done 4 times quicker than the norm. And then I would use the time left because I would have 3 weeks left to try and help everyone as much as I can, and be available, flexible again, reactive. I'm not waiting for issues to happen. The when you're facing a panic, usually you don't have that much stress. I mean, you do have the planning stress because you have a deadline and everything. That's basically the only stress you have.
I think
So, yep.
I think we have a little bit of an echo, mostly on Terry's side. I think Burin's audio sounds pretty good, but
Okay.
your side has
Should
an
I move?
Okay,
echo.
I guess I'll
I'm
show all the NDA stuff.
I'm
No,
not
it's fine.
sure. I
No,
think
Colton's gonna blur it all.
I can't do that.
No, it's fine, dude. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Colton.
I think that your microphone is picking up his voice, but his microphone is not picking up yours.
Do
So
we need to move further? You want me to move elsewhere?
I don't know. Sola says there's no echo.
we got a comment from Austin saying that there's a little bit of an echo, and then on Pierre says the sound of Terry is horrible.
Sorry, Pierre.
Is that
I
what
didn't
your
sitting on
buddies?
Pierre's
message your
seat.
microphone.
Yeah, I'm not
sitting
sure
on
what's
Pierre's
causing
seat.
it.
Pierre has the best seat, man.
Is it this Pierre?
Yeah, this
Oh,
Uh, so when was like, yeah, I guess we know all the answer. Like sometimes it can get really busy and sometimes it can get really chill.
Mm.
So in each of the situation, this man here needs to be as flexible as he could.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like if I would say if anybody wants to be an art director or anything, you need to be able to handle so many tasks
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You cannot be a one-track mind guy, I
Yeah.
would say.
you also have to be very interested in what other departments do, whether it's developers or anything like production. You got to be interested in every aspect of the game or movie you're working on.
Mm-hmm. So at Pretty Simple, you guys have a lead artists, but they are the same thing as art directors, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for anybody who doesn't know, when they throw lead artist and art director at Pretty Simple, they're the same thing. In case anyone's unclear.
In bigger industries, I think they would have lead artists that work with smaller teams and the art director that kind of make sure everything works. It's like delegations, I guess.
Yeah, but we're Swiss Army knife here, so
Yep.
we multitask. So
We should
besides
maybe.
digital, have you worked on a traditional medium?
What? That's
You- Besides digital, have you tried working on a traditional medium?
I tried oil painting. No, I tried traditional medias. I I like it. It's something I don't have the luxury to do as much as I'd want to, because of lack of time. Even if it's lack of time is a bad excuse. But yeah, I enjoy it. I'm really not good at it. I like drawing my Procreate though. Procreate is really awesome.
Yeah, I guess we can show some of your work. I can pull up your.
Yeah. I think it'll be. What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, sure.
I will pull up the art station of yours. right now, and kind of just go through some of your artwork. You'll be able to see it on stream, but I'll honestly just start with the first thing and just go through.
Can't see it.
So, dashing through space.
Yep. Yeah.
Terry,
Yep.
tilt your camera, center yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
It's good.
Great. And also, if anybody has questions, go ahead and ask them, and we'll get to them when we can. Yeah. So, I guess tell us a little bit about your work.
Yeah, this is what I like doing. It's I like telling a story basically. Like when I finished school, I didn't know if I liked to design characters, design environments, if I was more of a concept artist, illustrator, or whatnot. So I basically tried to do everything without being specialized. And what I found is, I'm very interested in single images that try to show as much story as possible.
Mm.
And these are very fun pieces I do during my spare time.
Okay. You do these at home, I'm guessing.
Yeah, work in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, Terry comes to work every morning around 6-ish.
Yep.
And he works until the job starts. So almost, I would say, like Atsy Gillen, I would say.
Yep. Waking up early so you can get more stuff done.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing I do.
Yep. So,
Is the mic still helpful, by the way?
what's that? I don't know. There's something about it that it's like it's not muffled. It's like it sounds kind of echoey, but I'm not sure exactly what. Burin's mic is great.
Thank you.
I'm not
Those
sure.
are Apple. They should be.
You want to switch?
What?
Do you want to switch?
You're working on the built-in thing?
No. If you want, we can switch laptops.
Just
What
trade
do you think,
seats.
Colton?
Maybe trade seats. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
See if that works.
Okay, so
Technical. This is how we solve our technical
anymore.
difficulties.
No.
They can't hear me right now.
Well, hello, I'm Burin.
Okay, your mic is great now.
Oh, my mic is awesome.
Alles Gute, everyone. Gesundheit.
Speak French now. Baguette.
Baguette. Spaghetti.
Yeah, this is better for me actually.
Great. Yeah. So let's see. Are there any specific images you'd like to talk about? Like maybe we can go to like even like this one or something and just say what's the story behind these? I know you focus a lot on storytelling, so we could talk about that.
Actually, I think the first one, like where I started to focus on a lot of things like character storytelling and setting, is starting with the first one, which is the raccoon.
Okay.
Beforehand, I actually tried to experience a lot of things. So I've like what Mars Station is pretty much a mix of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like characters. Some are like some are more realistic than others. Some experiment with stylization. A lot of things. So yeah, that was that was the first piece where I really try to focus on something I like doing, which is basically storytelling, playing with lights, colors in a semi-stylized fashion. Yeah, this was like the sort of piece I realized this is what I enjoyed doing and kept going with.
Mm-hmm.
So everything before this was pretty much experimentation.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this image. It's got a lot of a story behind it. You kind of got this hand coming out and giving money to this raccoon who's selling something. He looks kind of sneaky, like he's ripping him off or something. And really, it reminds me of what's his name, Rocket, I think, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Rocket's the best, yeah.
like his maybe his like ancestors or something.
Yeah. The old Rocket. Oh, that might be interesting actually.
Yeah.
The ancestor of Rockets.
Yeah. some slightly different breed of raccoon that's like made for like the Middle East or something in East. That's funny.
Like the sand one, the sand raccoon.
Yeah, it's really cool. Sand raccoon. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's cool. So, what does your process look like? Buren said something about you doing a whole bunch of sketches.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I have something on the computer actually,
Yeah,
like where I can
I'll
check the
try.
process.
I'll try. I'll,
It's the files on the desktop. If
I
you
hope
wanna,
it goes up.
go
Yeah,
there.
Buren, I can lock the screen to you if you want to screen share it.
Hold on. Um,
If you open the, yeah, I guess this.
you know,
Is
what? This is already 100%.
Hmm?
It's okay. I'll take exit stage left. You can do it here.
Wow. Multitasking.
Yeah, just like any art director would. So, sorry, Colton, I'll be out of the thing for just a little bit, but I'll.
No
Well,
worries.
we can share this mic actually.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'll
I'll be
remove
like-
this one.
Look
I'll
at
remove
him
the
go.
mic.
No?
So full of
Can you see
energy.
Yeah, this is process. I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
I don't
You
think
wanna
so.
share screen?
I don't see either.
Okay, I won't hear anything. Don't worry.
Oh, I need to.
You need to go to
Yeah,
your
right.
yes and yeah
Okay, now.
and yep. No, select it. Select page. Yes, and then
Okay, now.
damn, I heard.
So apparently
One
it's shared.
second.
Oh yeah, okay, it's here.
All right, we got it.
So it's
Oh man, layer 701.
Is that working?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Yeah, 701 is I'm the worst. This is typically not a process I would show any client. So, the way I do things is I got all those layers up here.
Oh wow.
Okay, so it's very very rough sketch that only I can understand most of the time.
This?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like it's pretty rough. I have like the danger for me for line arts, like the way I see it is if it's too refined, I will not want to experiment out of the boundaries of the line work.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get a middle ground between messy, understandable, and yeah, just place everything, make sure a composition could work, and that's it. The second step would be separation. I always try to have a very clear and clean separation for everything that works. Like all the overlaps should be working at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just go in and try to cover the canvas as much as possible. I just add light, shadow, work in grayscale. I have a hard time working with with values and colors at the same time. So I always try to fight one battle at a time. And the first battle for me is basically make sure everything works under a very neutral lighting and in values. So values is always the key thing for me. So basically make sure that everything reads, pick what would be light value, what would be dark value, and keep going basically. And then it's basically once everything is pretty much covered, I try to refine and make sure everything reads. And yeah, I struggled a lot on this one for the face. I was here before, and yeah, I had a hard time to figure out the face to make it kind of work, even if it was stylized. So this is moving on. And then once I'm confident that everything is here-ish in terms of values, I start putting colors in.
Okay, how do you put the colors in, by the way?
I actually have all the layers separated from before, and it's basically a color layer on top, which allows me to basically try to have multiple colors. I had no idea what skin color she was going to be. So, yeah, basically it's a color layer on top of everything to make it work in terms of neutral base color. always very ugly at this stage, but I can work with a neutral base because basically right after it's starting to add lights and intention. So when I reach this state, which is kind of late in the process, I kind of feel safer because I know where it's going in terms of color and where it's going in terms of lighting. I always work with a very basic base neutral lighting. I kind of like Tonko House. I don't know if you tried any course on schoolism. They had a Tonko Studio course about light and shadow.
Mm.
And it's pretty interesting because the way they always design their pieces, it's always very neutral lighting, and then they add layers of lighting on top.
Mm-hmm.
So this is keep it going, till the end.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I like how you separated out the values at the end and kind of made the background a little bit less.
Fog everything out.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, fog machine the best.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for bringing us through that. Maybe I can.
Did you show your
What's
the?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go to your folder and that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and this is like that's gonna be very very hard to read, but I have always my neutral base when I look for colors. How do I do this?
No, just see. Yeah.
Gotcha. I have a technical advisor. That's awesome. So I always start with a neutral base where I have everything in. Oh, everything in it's actually not true, but it's far enough for me to actually start thinking about lighting because this is very neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just start bashing lighting in, like to find a sort of lighting scheme or composition that would work. I like to do this step pretty late because it gives me an idea of what kind of storytelling moment or key moment I try to picture. If it's dark, if it's light, if it's happy, if it's a bit cheerful or not. So I always kind of do this in the later stages.
Are you doing this with multiply layer?
Yeah, multiply and overlay and dodge.
Okay.
You said something about the file.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the way I work with values, and so this is a typical ref board. For example, like the little girl, she had sort of flower crown thing, and I always work with references like this, and it's always in black and white for at least like all the value parts of the, like to understand exactly how this pops, this middle flower and those very nice leaves, how they pop in terms of value, how that yellow actually, once we put the colors back in, the yellow is very nice and subtle, and this green is very interesting and vivid. And how it works actually in terms of value is, it's for me more important to understand how it works in terms of value first, and then try to squeeze the color theory inside afterwards.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. We have a question. Toward which art style or studio type are you aiming? Like, I guess, what stylization of it? Like, what are you kind of shooting for? It definitely feels like animation or something.
Yeah, for a time I was like very in love with everything animation did. Well, animation studios, whether Disney, Pixar, or anything. I also found out that I have no skill in visual development as such. And I guess like Riot has everything. The splash arts in Riot, they kind of have everything I like.
You should look at Burin's computer. No, I mean the camera that's looking at you is over here. Anyways, go on.
What is it? Oh yeah, looking here. Oh okay, yeah. There's like so many screens. Where am I? So which one should I be looking? The other one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So basically, the Riot style. The splash art is always very interesting because they have an amazing storytelling, very strong in terms of color, of lights, they're slightly stylized as well. So that it's definitely the sort of studio I would be aiming at.
Mm-hmm. There he is.
We could share the mic actually.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, come here.
Might as well.
It's gonna be a shared experience now, people. First time in Art Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, big. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's
Aww.
like those old
a
Soviet
keeper.
babushka dedushka portraits, you know. Really cool.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
So,
Twins.
Colton, is there any questions on Twitch? Because we can't see anything.
No, I just asked the last one by Rudy Parfait.
Really parfait.
Is that one of your buddies?
Yeah, he was the former art director.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a member of the what's his team?
The
Skeleton Crew. Yes.
Ooh,
Everybody
nice.
look that up. It's a crew that's born from Pretty Simple. The best artists gathered up, and they made a team called Skeleton Crew. Shout out to
those guys.
Those guys.
Awesome.
Laban, Casimir, Rudy.
Casimir. Awesome guys.
Who else? There's at least 5-6 of them, right?
Yeah.
Marisha, Florian, Lee. Who's there? You don't know?
Friends. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nice. So, what else should we talk about? Let's figure out some. So, earlier you mentioned that you never really differentiated much between design and illustration. So, even to this day, what would you kind of consider yourself, a designer or an illustrator or both?
I would. Well, I'm not a very good one, but I would try to fit myself more into the category of illustrator.
Okay.
Definitely. I'm actually, since I picked up art like 5 years ago, I was interested in the art side of things more than the design aspect of things. Actually, they have many links together because a strong design is an art form as itself. So that's actually really interesting for me to study both.
Mm-hmm.
But I like illustration to represent design more than design to represent illustration, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So, when you're art directing, what, I don't know, can you give us like a rundown of the things that are you find are most common? Like, so you're art directing a project and you're getting in this work that you need to make sure is up to standard to send to the people above you. So what are some common things that you run into, you know, if people are wanting to get a job in the industry, what is your advice for them of things that art directors see that if you saw in someone's work who wants to get hired, you're just like, well, let's hire this guy?
Consistency would be one of the first things. If you look at a portfolio that has a bit like mine, by the way, if you look at a portfolio that has a lot of variety but no expertise, that's something that's not, wouldn't be a red flag, but that would be maybe looked down. Maybe I guess like the way people push themselves on a piece, you know, if it's finished or not, if like this person committed enough time to make it to make it work, or if it's like, okay, I have 2 weeks to do this, it's been rushed and whatnot. I think most likely in a portfolio in the beginning, you just need to make sure that everything is almost pixel perfect,
as polished as possible.
Yeah, as polished
to your
as
own
possible.
strength.
People won't know how much time you spent on anything. So yeah, I think this is like most likely the red flag is inconsistency and not finished the perfection. Like, yeah, you're always battling against people that have higher standards of finished. What is a finished piece? And you also have finished is not perfect but not finished. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a middle ground. You need to make sure everything is consistent to what you want to do, and yeah, I'd say consistency.
What happens when you do interviews with those people?
I actually did one interview in my life,
Candidates.
but it was actually it was a cool experience.
That's me, right? No, I'm
It's,
kidding.
it
It
was.
wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Like you actually ask a lot of background questions. I think like you're actually trying to know what character you're going to be working with, because before working with an artist you're working with a person, and that person is what that person is, right? This person has values, maybe is hardworking but to a certain limit. So yeah, you're trying to understand who's the character you're going to be, who's the person you're going to be working with. And then on the art side of things, sometimes actually I really think the portfolio speaks for itself. Like an artist and a portfolio, they speak for themselves. So during an interview or like when you're working with people, you're actually really trying to understand the person you're going to be working with.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good answer. I have a question. What was Terry's first work? I was gone for the first part of the stream. Yeah, what your first job? You were freelancing, right? What was your job, anyways?
My first job, I was in the military.
Oh,
That's so sad.
I'm
Um,
not sure if she was asking if that or the first job out of school.
First job out of school, I would consider it pretty simple. I tried to freelance. I stayed 3 months jobless when I finished FZD,
Mm.
and I found pretty simple pretty quickly. I was lucky on that. I tried freelancing for museums, but it was not worth working for. It was fun experience, but really hard.
Mm.
I also did an art test for, like right after school, an art test for Ubisoft Sofia, and my FZD Mac that we all had crashed during that art test, and that was a very very sad experience for me.
Oh, the FZD Mac. Salute
And
to
we're still
those.
using FTA Mac right now, man.
Yeah, I have
R.I.P.
mine laid on the table over there.
Are you still using it for like something, or
No,
like
I
it's
built
a
a
relic now, right?
desktop PC. I use it when I go places, but not for work nowadays.
It's mostly a relic.
Yeah, beautiful
Yeah, the
relic.
battery got weaker over the years.
Oh, let's see. So what would you say that influences and inspires you most, like as an artist in your work?
I would say other artists. I don't know if it's like a bad answer, but like other artists inspire me a lot, especially when they're like dedicated and hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we're talking a bit again about consistency, but like if you look at like Simon Stalenhag, for example, the
Yeah.
Swedish artist that does like his own universe, he's like extremely committed to his universe and the way he expresses it and his way of doing actually his process and everything. He's very committed to everything he does, and that type of person or artist inspires me a lot
Mm-hmm.
um, on a day-to-day basis.
What about outside of art?
Outside of arts,
Burin.
Thanks,
Burn.
man.
You're my
Burn
biggest
is the best.
inspiration. But I don't consider you an artist. No, I'm kidding.
I guess experimenting life. It's very dumb. It's a very dumb answer, but like getting enclosed on your PC or in front of your walls, or being too enclosed and not experimenting life, I think is very hard on an artist's way of working. It's like you need to still try to experience life and go out and visit places and be very curious about anything, like
Yeah.
museums or army museums or anything. Like it may sound stupid at first, but it will be an experience, and that marks you as a person, I think.
Try going outside of your own genre. You know,
Mm.
like if you, let's say you like realistic art, but if you only stick to realistic art, it's something you like, but it's not gonna open your eyes into something new.
Mm-hmm.
For example, at least in Paris and big cities, go to contemporary arts, go
Mm-hmm.
to paleontological museums. You know,
Go to the
like
Louvre.
for example, in Paris we have the African Oriental Culture Museum.
Mm.
It's insane, dude. Like
Oh yeah, it's
all
amazing.
those weird statues, like it's so alien, and like I've been there twice already. And I'm sorry I haven't done anything relating to my experience to that. I think I will do soon someday.
Mm-hmm.
But at least as a foreigner, my advice would be adding to Terry's advice would be just try going out
Yeah,
of
go
your
places.
don't go for your first choice of things, you know.
Like you went alone to a Marilyn Manson concert.
Yeah,
That's
alone.
experiencing life. Like it's the best.
Dude, I was right in the middle of the mosh pit all by myself, standing.
Oh no.
That's crazy, man.
But those kind of
No,
experiences mark you
nice.
for life, and like it can be very silly. But like if you said no to this, you wouldn't have experienced like the stadium, and maybe now you felt things like the immensity of it. Like for example, and this marks you as an artist. I think so. Like if you go to this new bar that has a really cool decoration, for example, to go drinks, but like be observant how they laid out everything, how the lights are working, how the mood you're getting when you're going inside, even if it's like you're just experiencing life and getting a drink. It's I think it's important to be like very curious and observant and go out and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. If you have any local stuff, just do it. You know, go see it, go experience it. Like I know here in LA, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say it because I haven't really done a lot here, but they've got like museums. I think one museum that I want to go see is the Peterson. I think it's called the Peterson Museum. That's where they have like a whole bunch of like movie props and stuff from like Blade Runner and cars and all that kind of stuff.
cool.
But I mean, isn't the Louvre is in Paris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go there. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Like yeah, the first time I went to the Louvre, you went as well.
Yeah.
Like, first time I went, like the ceilings were so high. It's like, how did they live and make, I don't know, clean up the spider webs up there? But yeah, it's actually awesome. Like the Louvre was really cool.
Actually, the French had spiders that clean other spiders' webs.
French spiders.
Yeah, French spiders.
Just like French maids, but
most
spiders.
cleanest
Yeah.
spiders that.
Funny. We got a question. What's your opinion on art studies? What's the best way of getting better at art according to you?
Mileage.
Mileage.
Yeah, for me it's mileage. And it sounds so I might be developing afterwards, but for me like the main thing is mileage, and in my position where I started art very late, I know that my mileage count is pretty low. So I do everything to make up for it. So that's like the first thing is mileage. The second thing is knowing what you want to do as an artist, because actually the art world and the professional art world is like super vague. Whether you're, I don't know, you could be doing vector art, you could be working as a vector, as an illustrator, as a concept artist on a certain style. You could be specialized. You could be Sergei Broza, who's doing post-apocalyptic, very specified stuff. So actually aiming towards something that you enjoy doing and knowing what it is, I think is very important. I think this takes a lot of time as well. You need experience to actually really know what you want to do as an artist. That's very important. As for studies, I think it's like Kim Jong-il that said I quote him now, but like if you see something, just draw it, whether it's inspiring you or not. It's basically just keep drawing, and anything, like it could be an artwork, it could be figure, it could be a character, it could be anything. It could be that glass you have on your table. I think like not focusing on one thing in particular. As for studies, it's just keep drawing. It's
because art is basically observation and interpretation of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
think
all
so.
it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. And even to, build upon that, I would definitely say that once you're already a professional, you're not there. Like you're always going to be growing as a person. You're always going to be growing as an artist. Like there is no there. There's just where you are right now and where you're going in the future. So it's not like, oh, when did you make it? It's like a lot of artists would respond, well, make what? Like, give me like get my first job. Like, well, my first job, I still have a long way to improve. And, it's like, even the best artists a lot of the time will be like, I have a long way to go. Like, I'm not anywhere near where I want to be. Like, and it's true.
I think you need to love the game, like
Yeah.
like the learning game, and you gotta love it, because if you don't, and if it's hard for you to be in this position, it's gonna be tough. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're discussing with every artist I know. Like I know Brian is like this as well. He's like always learning, always making up for himself. He's and you gotta keep it this way. You gotta love the game, like learning and getting up early and working and finding breaks, 20-minute breaks just to sketch, finding any excuses to draw. Yeah, you gotta
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. So you were in the military, and then so how long did it take you until you got your first job, basically? I think you kind of went over this a little bit, but as far as like how long you were working towards it, so at what age did you start? You were like 23, you said?
Yeah, 23, I think. Yeah,
Okay. So you were
23.
23.
I
And
actually bought
then
all the how to draw books, for kids. Like
yeah.
I started with the basics. I had no idea how to draw. I never drew anything, not even stick figures when I was a kid.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, started with how to draw books, and it's super silly, but this is how I started. And I quickly found this control paints,
I've heard of that, yeah.
control piece paint from Medcore
Website.
website. Yeah,
That was great. It's still up.
Yeah, this guy he's amazing. He did all this for free and available for everyone. And this is actually how I learned to paint, and I built my portfolio for Fengzu like right away.
Mm.
And I found Fengzu by just, I think pretty much everyone. I typed digital painting on YouTube and found Fengzu, and I was like, oh, he has this cool. I need to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I may have said this last episode, but it's not about how long like it's not really about how long it takes you to become a professional. It's about how many hours you're putting in,
Mm.
Like someone could become a professional in, like a year or a year and a half.
Yeah,
But
maybe
then
so.
you'll also find out that person put in the same hours that someone else is putting in over 10 years. So
Yep.
so
Yeah,
an
yeah.
FZD, is
That's
a
one of the
lot of work.
first things they're telling you at FCD actually.
Yeah.
And like they were telling people basically if while you're sleeping, someone else is doing it. He's doing that extra hour you're not doing. But by the end of the week, it's 5. By the end of the month, it's 20. And 20 is he has a day advance on you,
Yeah.
and you need to catch up. And I think it's a good way of seeing things because we don't know how hard it is until we start doing it, I guess. Because
Hmm.
I was very naive and I thought just drawing was always cool and it's pressureless and anything, but it stresses you out because sometimes you're not making it. It's hard and it's frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really hard yet to make up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. What would you say that the most important elements are for someone to have who wants to become a professional concept artist slash illustrator?
The most important thing. Mileage again. No, it's I think you need to be disciplined and hardworking
Mm-hmm.
because mileage is important. But if you're working 10 hours doing something that's not smart, you're not understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You need to understand like fundamentals. What is a fundamental? Why are we learning this? Why is it hard for everyone? Yeah, I think you need to be very smart, disciplined, and hardworking. This is like 3 main things. I don't actually. There might be talents and everything, right? But I actually don't believe there's talents. It's really all those 3 factors put together,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on one thing, which is art. Like if your thing is art, you need to be disciplined, hardworking, and pretty much actually any job, right?
Mm.
But if you want to make it and be like high-end professional or like professional at least, you need to have those 3 main values.
Yeah.
You need to do that skill until it becomes second nature.
Mm-hmm. It's a language. At the end of the day, it's a
It is.
language. And
Yeah.
if you can't speak, the only way you can learn how to speak the language is by doing it day after day after day after day
Yeah.
until you don't even
Memorize.
remember not knowing it.
Yeah.
You know,
And like when you learn a language, it's pretty much the same thing. I like the analogy here, but like when you're like forced into speaking a language because you're in this new country and
Yep.
no one will make the effort to speak your language, well, you're out of your comfort zone every day, and you're learning
Mm-hmm.
this way. And in 2-3 months, you're picking up the language.
Yeah.
But you've been out of your comfort zone for 3 months or so, and this way you learn how to speak the language.
Yeah.
And I think art is also the same thing. You always need to be out of your comfort zone, and it's if you're staying inside that small comfortable bubble where you keep doing the same thing, you're not learning the language.
Yeah. It almost makes me wonder how fast someone would be able to become a pro if they were just thrown into a studio with no artistic
Yeah,
ability as a
that,
concept artist.
that should be the best thing ever, right?
That'd be such
Like
an experiment.
molded by the industry, like
Yeah, like how would that work? Like they didn't go to FZD, they didn't go to Art Center, they
yeah.
didn't start with the fundamentals. They were just like put in Ubisoft as a concept artist, and the first time they held a pencil was like in the studio, and the art director's like, "No, this has got to be like this," and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they tried it. Like 6 months
Oh
later,
man.
maybe they're a pro, you know?
Oh, for sure, man.
with the electric
No,
stick.
for sure.
Yeah,
Electric stick. Just, ah!
cattle prod every time you do
Yeah,
something wrong.
exactly. They'll even do anything by mouse. So they're like, what is this tablet? And what do I
Dude.
do? It's like,
I heard Craig Mullins was painting by mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, definitely. I
I'm
mean,
gonna
don't
pick that skill up.
don't you ever guys like I mean, don't you guys ever like find that if you're kind of like chilling at your computer and you want to like work on something, sometimes you don't even bother like bringing out your tablet, you kind of just mess with your mouse a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I do
yeah.
that all the time, especially with paint overs.
Oh, on paintovers, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
keep doing this. So it's like
Yeah.
it's just like
Does
you're
happen.
you're comfortable on your seat, and you're like, the
yeah,
stylus is up there, the mouse is here. Come on, it's just like I can
It's,
write this.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
It's
a
mouse
no-brainer.
all the time.
And
Yeah.
sometimes like I won't even try to write on the keyboard. I just like write on Photoshop with the mouse because it's here and it's like.
yeah,
But yeah, mouse, best art tool ever.
yeah. That's so funny. Um. So, what about your So, when you started, you knew nothing about art or design.
No, nothing. I didn't even actually realize people are paid to do arts and design. It's like it wasn't even like conceivable for me that people were actually paid to do all the movies and video games we all love.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like I don't know, maybe I was playing Zelda when I was a kid and I had the Zelda book or something, and there was a drawing and it just appeared here magically. I don't know. It's
Yeah. So that's
like
perfect. So I want to ask you, what misconceptions about like about art and the design industry did you have when you were learning that you now realize were wrong? Like, what did you think back then that nowadays you're just like, man, I was an idiot to think that.
I thought it was easy. No, honestly, I really thought it was. I think everyone thought it was easy at some point when you try to get it seriously, because I
Mm,
really thought it was something that people would do for leisure. It's like I'm
yeah.
having fun, I'm drawing, right? It's this sort of thing,
Mm,
and because of this, I didn't think there should be effort in it at all. So even if I was disciplined in the beginning, I didn't push myself that much in terms of hour of understanding, and that was actually frustrating because I think like when you're a very total beginner, like I was like not so long ago actually, it's actually hard for you to realize that it's like, is it me? I'm doing something wrong, but I mean I'm just drawing. It shouldn't be that hard, right? And it's
mm-hmm.
actually frustrating. You know how much engagement you're supposed to have. That's the biggest misconception. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine. Oh, I thought it was going to be hard.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny because I had such a different experience, you know, like as soon as I found out about concept art, like the second I had Fang in his videos going, this is not an easy industry, man. Like you're going to have to put in a lot of hours. And so it's like, I mean, I drew my whole life even as a kid. And it's funny because I drew for years and years as a kid and I never got any better because I never practiced anything that was going to get me to improve. You know, I was under the impression that if I used reference, that was cheating. You know, like if I looked at a face while I was drawing
the
a
reference
face.
thing. Yeah, the reference thing. Yeah, that's true. Like
Yeah.
never use references. That's cheating.
I
Yeah.
always thought like, oh, copying from someone else would ruin my style. Oh God, I was mistaken.
Like
Copying
You gotta copy all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to copy. I mean,
You gotta
Yeah,
copy all
but you
the
have to
time.
copy with the intent to understand.
yeah,
You know, that's the big thing. It's like copying to impress people is one thing, copying to understand is an entirely new thing. It's like it's a complete shift from one thing to the other, and that's when you really are going to start to get better.
but that's also very hard because like it's like drawing or art in general is like it's a creative function of your brain that's working, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to you want to upgrade and become better in everything, you need to have like the science behind art. Like, why are you studying this? Why are you what are you trying to do right now? Like,
Mhm.
why if you're doing strokes, are they useful? Are they useless? You need to have like the science, and it kind of clashes with the creative side of your brain. That's just experimenting and doing and whatnot. But yeah, it's hard to mix both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the science part behind the study, behind the what are you doing. Yeah, it's tricky.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really not easy because you have to use both the creative and the like logical side of your brain and
Mm.
figure out what proportion of each to use
Mm.
like at all times. You know, sometimes both. You have to have like 100% of both, which is crazy. You know.
Which is also not natural, I think, because
Yeah.
like when you try to describe someone, he's generally more on the creative side or more on the logical
Hmm.
side, right?
Right and left brain.
Yeah, right and left brain. So it's actually hard to kind of pump into the other side of the brain to do art, but it's actually very important. It also, I know for me, it really came up very late because I was drawing for drawing, right? It's like art for art. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, understanding what you're doing, what you're looking at, it's vital, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
I wish we had three brains.
Burin being real deep here.
Third hemisphere, or whatever you call it in the
Mm.
brain,
All and that hemisphere would just connect the
and
other
that
two.
only does art. That's
Yeah.
the organ.
It just do Control Z.
Yeah, it just is Control Z. Yeah.
Yeah. So has motivation, has burnout, has discipline ever been a coming from a like a military background, has that ever been an issue for you? Have you ever been burned out to where you don't want to do this as a career anymore?
uh, Burned out, yes, but not to that point.
Hmm.
It's basically like FDD exhaustion,
Yeah.
this sort of exhaustion, like too much, and like you're not able to think anymore. And I kind of related to do you play an instrument, for example?
I actually don't. Art I never played an instrument. Art was my
Well, which is it's a good thing. For example, for someone who learns to play guitar, there's always like he's trying to do something for like a whole night and it doesn't work.
yeah.
And for some reasons he goes to sleep and the next day it all works out, right?
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
Magically, right? You need to process what's going on. And when I'm feeling burned out, usually I try to do anything I can to process all the information I have, because it's basically you're overloaded with information, just like an FZD, right? You have
Yeah.
3 classes, you have 20 hours of work a day, every day, nonstop, and
Yeah.
you don't really have time to process. So that's what I call burnout for me. Like my burnout is basically I cannot process anything anymore, and I need to find a way to, which is
Mhm.
basically sometimes just a good night of sleep. So instead of getting up and going to work at 6 a.m., I'll go at regular 10 a.m., for example,
Mm.
or just having a weekend off. Sometimes you like switch off the brain, and you get your brain is fully resourced and ready to fight back.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on it. I like that. So you kind
Did,
of just
did
hit the
that happen
reset.
to you guys like for like some like very hard burnout?
Um, I got to the point where where I was wondering if I even wanted to continue this as a career,
Mm,
like last year. But a lot of it also had to do with where I was living. You know, I was living alone for months and months, and I hadn't seen any friends or anything. And that's part of the reason I moved to California is so I could be around people who are in the same
mm,
industry. So I think the burnout was a combination of not really discovering anything new. And it's actually funny because this is something I did want to bring up that I just remembered. If you're like if you like the viewer are feeling burned out with art, you may not actually be feeling burned out with art. It might be just you need to change your life situation in general. Like, you may just blame art, but you may actually just be doing something wrong. Like, try eating healthier, try getting better sleep, try hanging out with your friends, getting a hobby, doing stuff, and you may find that you actually still have the same passion for art all along.
For me, most of my burnout comes from not art at all.
Yep.
It usually comes from emotional stress.
Mm-hmm. Except
Like
with you, we call it
What?
burn out.
Yeah,
Burn
Burn.
out.
The burnout.
burn out.
Bernie.
So, so Colton is, yeah. We have this joke. Like, I call him Colt on, Colt off.
Yeah. And
And-
Colton, Colt out.
Yeah, Colton, Colt out, and Colton calls me burn out. or
Yeah.
something.
Anyways,
So anyways,
continue what you're saying.
At least for me, my burnout usually comes from an emotional state. If I'm worried, or if I get a bad news about something, if I'm not sure about the couple of months ahead of my life or something, that's when I really burn out. Never from how much I'm drawing.
Mhm.
But of course, I will get like physical fatigue if I sit 16, 18 hours a day or something.
And also, yeah, I think you're right, because like art could be a life modifier in the sense that if not like in your life it's not working out, like if you're able to do something good, it could have a good impact or worsen the whole situation. If
Yeah.
like nothing is going on, everything's burning, and you're trying to draw because it's your job, you need to do it, and you're like all stressed out into something. And if it works out, it could be like a real life modifier, like a positive one. But the reverse, it could also like make everything hell of a lot worse.
Like mid to late term 2, if I really speak honestly, to the shock of all the fellow FTD students listening to what I'm saying, midterm 2, I actually thought, okay, once I graduate, I'm never fucking touching pen. End of story. I don't care. I don't care. I'll go home. I'll be a cop. I would have made an awesome cop though, because my mother was a cop for 25 years, and I grew up in a law enforcement family. So I have it in my blood.
Cop.
In 5 years, we're gonna
Dude,
see him.
I'll
with
be
a
doing
uniform.
it like Denzel, man. I'll be doing it like training day.
Now you're the hall monitor at Pretty Simple.
Exactly.
Technical supervisor.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a question for you guys. Do you have ever like a feeling like in the blank
No.
canvas thing, like ever like the blank canvas thing? Like, does it happen to you guys again, or did it ever happen, or is
Like-
it still
Always.
happening?
Like not
Always,
knowing what
sir.
to draw.
Always.
Yeah.
Blank canvas. For anybody, I guess just to explain for people who are listening who might not be familiar with that term, I believe that term is like you see a blank canvas in front of you and you're overwhelmed and you have no idea what to draw.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
Always.
Like you want to draw, you have time to do it, but you have a blank canvas and you don't know what to do and you can't get started.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless I'm feeling like really inspired by something, I usually don't know what to draw. I'll have to search around like for a while, I'll have to figure out something that'll inspire me enough to be like, whoa, that would be a cool image, or that's a cool thought.
And does that lead to procrastination or not? Like the blank canvas, like you're stuck in. You
It
don't know what
does.
to do and you don't get started.
It does.
Yeah, I
For
would, I
me,
would say it probably does.
I usually just draw face.
Mm.
That's the first thing I ever. If I have a blank canvas, it's faces.
Mm.
That's it.
Mm.
No spaceship, no animal, just faces.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess this is the way of doing things. The hardest thing for me, like art, for the art side of things, it's getting started. Always getting started is the hardest thing for me. Like once I started the first stroke, I'm okay for hours. But getting started to that first stroke is always like a pain.
I think it's because of the way we are trained as a concept artist and designer, because we are meant to create new things out of nothing, right? Kind of.
Mhm.
And we always need to think about references to do what's not out there. And this became a new habit, at least for me. Look, man, if before I studied in FTD, I could easily just start bashing away like with my pen and brush whatever, like little animals with robot heads, whatever, crazy stuff. But once I got into FTD, the way I think, the way I process information, the way I process my imagination at the same time, got completely restructured. So that's why. But if you give me like, hey, Bren, could you draw a monkey that lives on the Martian planet that's kind of full of methane and his lung is outside of his body or something? Like, if you give me that idea, I'll give you probably like 10 thumbnails each.
Mm-hmm.
But if I really want to know what I want to draw, I don't have any. Like, as much as it sounds weird, at least I became like that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's really interesting too.
You guys have time for a personal project as well, or is it like just work and client work?
Nowadays, not so much. What about you,
Is
Bird?
it something like you'd want to have more time for yourself, or even if you had, you wouldn't take it and do it?
I mean, I'm working on a couple things on the side that aren't really art related, or I guess I would say drawing specifically for the purpose of drawing, but those are my personal projects. Like, that is what I consider my personal work, like building an online course, Art Quest. Those are my passion projects right now, like on the side outside of work.
And I'm sharing the passion.
What about you, Burn? You got any things going on behind the scenes?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on Mongolian history illustration book I'm making.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it out of, well, I mean, look, man, Mongolians are always seen as this savage, furry, killer, murderer, whatever. Whenever they make a movie about us, we're always the bad guys. And nomadic culture is always very alien to anyone who's born in the city living culture and whatnot. I take this issue quite seriously and sensitively sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to make a book that I'm using museum stuff, tomb paintings, commissioned books of the medieval times, talking to real historians, not like stereotypical view of what medieval Mongolians were all like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to my art station, I put 8 pieces secretly, and you can look at what it's about. And that's what I'm working on behind the scene. And to make it work, I'm talking to museum people, historians. I'm getting in touch with the Russians who study Golden Horde things, and I got in touch with the Chinese historians who also study all that stuff. And it has taken me, at least I started working since I came to France, and it's probably going to take me another 2.5 years. And I just want to get it right, and I want it to be one of the first books about medieval Mongolia that has at least 95 to 90% of accuracy of clothing, items, weapons, how people lived, horses, equipment. Like I'm taking this very seriously. So
yeah, that research part looks like the funniest thing in the whole project.
Like,
getting your research done.
Like check this out. For example, I have this one painting with the princess, and well, that princess was one of the first princesses that got married to Korean kings because Korea became vassal state for the Mongol Empire, right? So, I mean, I didn't know how to draw Korean clothing because it was so hard to find really good references from exactly that era because Koreans were constantly invaded by nomadic tribes and they didn't get to keep a lot of information. And also, Korea would pick up the dressing code of the ruling Asian culture of that time. That's what they usually did. And I had to get in touch with this Korean artist who made books, Hanbok Story. Hanbok Story, yeah, that's the series of books she made. And I wanted to get it right, because I can't treat my own people with respect and spit on the other cultures. That's not what I'm going to do. So if anybody's showing up my drawing, I have to show equal respect. So I had to contact her on DeviantArt, and I couldn't find her Korean email address, nothing. So I had to wait a month, see? Like, I had to wait a month. And right when I was starting, you know what, never mind. I'm going to change those people into, I don't know, like Song Dynasty Chinese or something. And she finally came out and said, hey, I can't give you anything, but here's all the Korean keywords you can Google and find them. And I used
Yeah.
that, and I got them right, and I painted it. Now I'm
Profit.
happy. Nobody's angry. Okay?
Yeah, dude. Sometimes it's like as a researcher, sometimes you just got these dead ends that never pan out, and other times you finally hear back and you get this gold mine of information.
Also, should I talk about what's happening with the latest game? No?
Not sure.
Not sure? Okay,
No.
fine. Never mind. So, that's what I'm working on if anyone's interested.
That research part looks like so much fun.
And Terence here has helped me a lot with my aesthetics because
Art directing again.
because one of my weaknesses is the color and how things read out, and I as much as I focus on too much on the references, I kind of forget about the whole beauty side of things, and I asked Terence to hook me up with his knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I hook up knowledge and we hook up.
But that's good to use like each other's strengths. Like as artists, we always have like very, very clear strengths, flaws, or at least interests. And like if, for example, you're very interested in everything like beyond design, like it's like how it works, how it felt, how how things were, like what are the exact uniforms from this era in particular, what happened, all this research, and and this sometimes you're like less focused on like the illustrated parts, how to illustrate and how to make it work like artistically, which you actually do make it work.
Also, Terence is working on a children's book.
Yep.
With his drawing style, and I don't know if you can disclose anything, but
I don't have anything yet. But it's actually like a tough project that I accepted at some points, and I was telling everyone to be like consistent, and this is totally inconsistent for me to try to do children book. But it's like you gotta try experimenting. Like if it works and it's a good experience, I would have loved it, and if it didn't work out, well, I would have learned as well. Like it's not something I'm good at. I've learned more about stylization, for example, which is gonna help me in the future. You gotta be kind of a yes man on projects. Like you gotta accept things and try things out.
One more thing I noticed I wanted to talk about is that, okay, in Pretty Simple, I work in a completely different style of workflow. But when I go home and work on my thing, I do it completely different way. And it's just weird. Like I have a deadline. I need to reach all the criteria that the producers and the story writers, all these guys need to do. I do it in the office, right? My brain completely treats my own project and my job like in a totally different way. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, hey, I treated this one better or this one less. No, it's not. It's just if I go home, and if I need to do exactly the same kernel case stuff on my own to do it, I wouldn't do it like that somehow. I can't explain it. I just do it.
Isn't it because like deadlines?
I don't know if it's because of deadlines. It's just
here you might have the discomfort of like things need to be done like super quickly, and
maybe
it's like more about like survival instinct and how to get stuff done as quick as possible and to make it as clear as possible, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, but
you don't have the comfort to, I don't know, maybe do it as nice as you'd want, or
I don't know. But when I go home and I work on my own stuff, I do a completely different approach.
What I've noticed for myself is that I have a much higher standard for client work than I do personal work. Like if there's a design that I'm working on for a client, I'm really fleshing it out and trying to find an interesting angle. But if I'm making something for my personal portfolio, a lot of the times I'll be like, good enough, and I'll finish it and get bored and
I think
post
that's
it.
what's going on.
Okay.
I think that's what's happening, right?
See.
So do you have a higher standard for work or home?
I think I have a higher standard for client.
Yeah,
I
definitely do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe we figured it out.
Yeah, that's why, man.
I wouldn't know, man. I wouldn't know.
Something went off. Now you guys are dark.
No, it's our security guy doing the routine check.
Okay. Tell him I said hi.
It's fine. Do you want me to lower the screen while we see?
No, it's good. Don't worry.
Everything's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Could be because you.
Yeah, now it's all dark. All the lights. We need to move fast.
Okay,
Maybe
it
he's gonna
could be
appear
because
again.
you need to use certain style to fit everything else in the company, and when you come home and you do your own project, where you use your own
Right.
style. Yes, Ursula, that's right. I would agree. Oh, let's go. No, she's just saying like because it's more clear when you're working in the office for the client that the end goal is more clear. You know what I mean?
Plus, you got this routine thing going on. I mean, you got the. I mean, it's not a routine, but I mean, like everything is fleshed out. You don't need to go out of your comfort zone. You don't need to, depending. I mean, it's very dependent, I guess. But you've done it before 100 times.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Execution.
is
I
here.
think the expectation is more set than your personal stuff.
Yeah.
With your personal stuff, nobody's like pushing it this way, that to be like that, and you also want to do your own thing. That's why.
Because you're
Your-
benchmarking quality.
Yeah, and your mind is more wandering around which direction you should take. Maybe that's how I would explain it. But it does happen. Definitely different treatment between your own thing and then again, I'm not saying treat one less or better. It's just
Yeah.
because look, check this out, man. In the office, you can't get away with treating your job less because you have this guy and the producer and everybody's saying no, Buren, it's not up to par. You have to add another 5 hours, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Retakes and feedbacks.
Feedback's the best, and I love it when the story writers completely change the script
Oh yeah.
and come back to you after 3 days and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Buren. You have to totally restart the whole background sets, but the deadline is the same."
The deadline is the same, and now you have a month less.
Yeah, and not gonna lie, sometimes I do have to take a job home, but it's extremely rare, and it only happens in very. It's weird, like
We don't have crunch here yet.
no, we don't.
We don't have crunch periods.
But then there's definitely the occasional shifts and changes of tones of the product,
Mm-hmm.
and that can definitely happen, and it's inevitable. And you can't say, "Hey, use my old, sketches." They'll say, "No, the story was in the warehouse. Now it's in the morgue."
Yeah.
Yeah, just add dead people in the warehouse. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not poor.
Yeah, dude, I can see how that could. You almost have to scrap everything you have and start 100% fresh. And it goes back to the don't fall in love with your work, Like, you have to be ready to throw away anything. 90% of what you make, of what you draw, is never going to go anywhere.
And repairing is often worse than starting from scratch. Like, if you're like, I committed like 15 hours on this, it needs to go out somehow. Okay, we're changing. Now it's like this hospital is a playground now. Yeah, if you start repairing this thing to make it into a playground, you're actually ruining everything. Wasting even more time. So yeah, sometimes it's just like, move on. It's okay. Just reset.
Lick your wounds.
Yeah, lick your wounds and go back into battle.
Yeah,
Sharpen
I think I think it's the most amazing skill to be able to redo a piece without redoing it from scratch. Like, it's very hard. It's very hard. Like, take this painting and now turn it into something else. That's so hard. It's like harder than starting again.
Yeah,
because you have to like fight against what's already there and change it. That's why paint overs are so hard a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, your own paint overs are hard. I actually find like painting on top of someone else is okay.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
For someone what's else. The most difficult thing ever when you're like working in a house? Your art director and your producer have completely different opinion what you must do. And they don't communicate amongst themselves, but they're rather communicating to me.
Oh, that's the worst.
If that happens, this is what I do. I just bring them both.
You plug your ears, go.
Yeah. I just bring them both in front of me and go.
Just quit. And
okay. You want a 9-floor building, but you want a basement building. Could you guys please talk it out? That's it. That's what I do.
It's actually our job to do it. It's not yours. That's like that's on us. It's technically our job to communicate and make sure everything's all fine.
Yeah, but it does happen. So if anything happens to anyone of like working on a project where you have 2 bosses and they're conflicting, don't try to satisfy both of them. It's way better to let them fight.
communication is actually a key point in any industry, but in this one in particular, like
Mm-hmm.
people are sometimes like, you're not just someone here to execute. You're also like someone who thinks. You can have opinion. You need to, if you have concerns, if you think something is going to be off schedule, if you report
Mm-hmm.
problems before there is any. That's like
Exactly.
the main thing. Like, yeah, problems are like the worst thing ever in a company.
Yep. Man, yeah, it's funny. Because I've never worked in house anywhere. I've only ever freelanced. So there's a lot of things that I just don't know. I've never experienced. It's
Oh,
funny
you're
because
working in your own house. That's
yeah.
nice. Work outside, dude.
You're your own boss. That's awesome.
So over the years I've accumulated bits and pieces, and they start piecing together, so I part of the reason I started ArtQuest with you is because I'm so curious about what actually goes on, like, in house, because I'm gonna staying freelance. Like, I don't intend on working in house anytime soon, if ever, but anytime soon at the least. And I moved to Pasadena, and my girlfriend's gonna come out here, and yada yada yada. And I like the place I'm in, and I like working from home, and I like doing stuff on the side. But I also want to learn how to communicate better with people that I'm working with. And a lot of the advice I got in the beginning was, oh, you want to start off in a studio and then go freelance. And I was like, but what if I don't really have that option because I have other plans that take priority? Like, then what?
And I've heard it's so much harder to start with freelance. You did it the hard way.
I'm really not sure, since I've never worked in house. I've heard it is harder. I got lucky because I made some good friends in FZD, and they referred me to jobs, and now I'm in a pretty good position with the studio that I'm working for, Volta, and they've sent me full-time work for almost the past year now.
Awesome.
And so yeah, but at the same time I want to learn what it's like in a studio, so
And it actually varies so much, like from one studio to another, from one culture to another, from one country to another.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes like the same studio, like you take Ubisoft that's in Sofia or Ubisoft that's in Montreal, Quebec, or any. It's like different cultures and different areas. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely been realizing that more and more, that every studio is different.
There's like so much variation in the work ethic, the workload, and
yeah.
And who's in charge?
Yeah, who's in charge and who's doing what, and it's also very dependent on who's working there. Like people, it's always about people as well. So we're artists, but we're also people, and different characters and different mentalities. I think we gotta adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for anybody watching, like, you just gotta do your thing. Nobody can tell you what you. I don't know, because on one side of the spectrum, you've got people who you need to listen to, people who know what they're talking about. Like, learn the fundamentals, learn your perspective, learn your values, learn your anatomy, all that stuff. But on the other side of the spectrum, it's your own journey. And if someone says, well, you need to do this and you need to do that, a lot of the times you don't.
Yeah.
Like, and as a beginner, it's almost impossible to differentiate.
And the journey is the best as well. So it's hard. Like, enjoy your journey. It's unique, and it's not gonna be comparable to anyone. Yeah. And even if you do exactly the same thing, like let's say I'm starting and you're giving me an advice, and I'm doing exactly the same school as you did in the same time period and everything. It's not gonna end up being the same artists. And it's like, this is what makes it awesome. It's like everyone has this unique experiment, and it's worth doing.
Yeah. I see Burin brought up Twitch. Yeah, it's absolutely true. So everybody's artistic journey is different. Everybody's just like everybody's lives are different, But there's also memes, which a lot of artists understand, It's like, people who grew up with a dog will understand this meme.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so it's like, or FZD students will get this meme, and Art Center students will get this meme, and self-taught people will get this meme, and so.
But yeah, you need to learn to enjoy the journey. Like it's hard, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it unique and memorable. But yeah, it's actually hard sometimes. Like when it's hard, and you just like it's easier to not do anything and just stay in bed and whatnot. Yeah, enjoy the journey.
You know, the great Steven Tyler said, "Life's a journey, not a destination."
Yeah, he said that.
It's amazing.
Man.
And
Well,
I'm
it's
saying a
certainly
prayer
true.
for all the desperate hearts tonight.
Yeah,
It was
it's
a fun reference. So,
What else? What else do we got to ask? We got a couple more questions. One question that I ask everybody is: do you consider this career risky, and do you consider yourself a risk taker?
I consider this career risky. Yeah. Yes, and to be very fair, I think it's gonna get riskier. But this is very personal. The way I see like the industry evolving and everything.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's getting riskier. I still believe that it's worth doing and taking the risk.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, it's hard. There's competition is the main thing. There's
Yeah.
a lot of competition for skills, for visibility, for understanding how the market works. There's like so much competition,
it got really saturated over the last 5 years.
and I think it's going to
Yeah.
get even more saturated. But I think that means that people who learn to adapt
as fast as they can.
as fast or better, smarter than anyone else, they're going to have a very interesting time. So yeah, I think with different markets opening and closing, yeah, and how the industry is working at the moment, it's going to be interesting.
The
Yeah.
AI,
But yeah, you're going to need to adapt. That's for sure.
the AI is definitely coming for us.
Yeah, no, I mean that's something as well.
That's for sure.
It's kind of scary, but it's not just us; it's the whole world. So
It's the whole world, so we need to adapt. And
everything from delivery to analytic softwares to taking care of elders.
yeah,
and
we're not in the safe haven.
military drones.
Yeah.
Humans are just getting phased out at every level, and I don't know how our government is going to take care of us. But don't wait for them to make any action. You have to just keep running as hard as you can. Learn the new softwares. Totally read up on the news, what's coming in the horizon.
Try to read what's happening in the markets. Try to
Yeah.
understand where you want to be and what you do is like, how can you have an impact on the industry in 5 to 10 years? Like try to smell how it turns out.
Keep afloat.
Keep afloat.
That's the hardest thing.
Keep afloat. Adapt, overcome.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to do it. Yeah, you put in the work, and like, if you work harder than everybody else, then you're pretty much guaranteed to succeed. Like,
Yeah, I do believe so. Yeah.
it's about the hours you
and
put in.
smarter.
Harder and smarter, exactly. Yeah, I heard it
because-
before.
Because some people have this weird notion that, if I just keep running in the same place for, I might go ahead. No, you need to actually push ahead rather than. Let's just say you learn one skill, but you stick all around on that skill for 5 years. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
You have to learn one skill, practice that for a year really well, and whether you want it or not, eventually new thing will come, and the industry will pick that up. And you have to pick that up and willing to completely unlearn the old skill. You know what I mean? Colton?
What?
You were totally zoned out, dude.
No, I'm just imagining in my head what you're talking about. Like I'm visualizing it. I think I started to dream for a second. Weird.
Yeah. You need to be totally willing to learn and unlearn.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that I see you have to understand, right, guys? All these titans up there, right? Let's say Jama, Mache, all these guys, right?
Yeah.
These guys create all the new tutorials, everything for us to follow along, right?
Yeah.
While you try to learn all that skill for, I don't know, let's say you find out a year later, and then you spent let's say 2 months to really learn it.
Yeah, they moved on.
They've already moved on, dude. That's what you really need to realize.
Yeah.
right? So basically, what's the word? Rabbit will never catch up to the tortoise, right? That's the theory. That's the way you need to look at the industry. Because, oh yeah, it's 2 years old. I get this cool tutorial. You do it. Hey, go to ArtStation. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
That's the most messed up part. So if there's anything new like VR or anything new, if you can,
I love VR,
get on the bandwagon as much as look at that guy.
Dude, I use VR every day.
Yeah. He uses
you
VR
do?
every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
You VR to model these
Awesome.
client stuff.
Yeah. I
have like my Samsung VR phone.
You play your little pew pew game on it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I
goes
realized in the last 1 year.
Yeah, I agree. Don't make it unfun. Like, the journey needs to be fun, otherwise you're going to be depressed and sad.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a depressed, sad person.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
And it's only getting faster. So,
yeah.
But at least on my end, I will do as much as I can to stay afloat.
Yep, definitely.
I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah. Well,
amazing cop.
back to
Amazing cop, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, boring. Oh. Back to what you were saying earlier though, with the it's not about the hard work, it's about the, I mean, a lot of it is about the hard work, but you have to be hard work and you have to be smart,
Yeah, you have to be smart.
Like, I've heard it said before, if the hardest working people were the most successful, then construction workers would be the most successful.
Yes.
Like, but it's not. It's the people who put in, 16-hour days in the right direction, learning new things. They not only exercise, their bodies and stretch it to the limit, they also do that with their minds and what they can understand, Like in FZD, not only are you working 16 hours a day, but every single lecture you have in class just forces stuff into your head, more stuff than you can even manage. And the people who can understand all of that and then put it into practice are the ones who are really gonna succeed.
Yeah, I agree. And the work smart is actually, you need to learn, and that's not abstract. It's actually very real.
Absolutely.
You need to learn as well, because I mean, you can be disciplined, you can be hardworking, but if you do 15 hours of the same thing or something that's not, you could have done it in 2 hours. That's not being hardworking. That's being stupid. And it's very hard to not be stupid because you're already hardworking and putting a lot of efforts. And yeah, being smart is actually super hard, I find.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Construction workers are a bad example because it's not entertainment, and entertainment will always be on top of everything, not regular jobs. I don't know. Like, honestly, it's about the principle of, are you gonna work? It's like shovel. Like a construction worker could shovel rocks all day. Or they can use a tractor.
It's construction work. That's not what he means. He's saying keep doing the menial tasks without also thinking about improving on the side or some other skills. That's what Colton meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the elite construction, but
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. So, like, you're not gonna be afraid of the guy who, I don't know. You're not gonna really fear losing your job to the guy who, like, is just a beast at, like, some archaic thing. You're gonna be afraid of losing your job to the guy who is learning a new software every single week and putting in a ton of work and a beast that way. Like, and. Like, I don't know, but if you're good, you're usually not gonna lose your job. Like, if you're good and you're helpful and people like you, because at the end of the day, the industry is just comprised of a bunch of people. People are gonna hire you and keep you around if they really like you.
Yeah, the values are a core reason why people are still around. Like, people that are like, you could be an amazing artist, but if you're just doing the minimum and you're not, giving yourself, for example, to 100%, it's, you're always going to be preferring working with a guy who's coming to see you. Okay, do you need help with something? I
Yeah.
finished my work. Can you check it out? It's done. Can we move on? Okay, I have 1 hour here. I don't know who's going to communicate. I've seen there's this new software here. Some guy is starting to use it. We should try to get into it. Curious, who's eager to learn, to work, and you'd rather stay with those people because those people are helping you moving forward. It's
Yeah.
someone who's on his side and just is really good by default. It's good, but on the long run, it won't be as interesting.
And it just like it cannot be like a fake. Hey, look at me! Look, I'm doing it. Look at no, not that.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuinely giving shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can also see a lot of people sometimes in life or in friendship, like, hey, I'm there, but when you really think about it, like, well, you want to be seen like you're being there, But
Yeah.
when people are really there for you or for themselves, you can see them.
Yeah.
Right? So, especially if you want to improve your art talent, whatever skill, you can't be like, hey, I did draw like 7 birds today on my Facebook. Check the like. I put it on my. Yeah, you're doing it, but you're not doing it for the real reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really abstract, and some people might go, well, Burin, you don't know me, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm voicing my opinion.
Yeah, but we can see your work, and it becomes apparent pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You may fool people for a little while, but at the end of the day, like, if you don't put in the work, it's not going to work out for you. Like, maybe for a little bit, maybe you'll get lucky, and I'm sure there's always that one person out there who it does work out for some reason or another, even though they don't work very hard or they don't meet the standards and all that. But you can't count on it, that's for sure. Most people, it doesn't. So.
Also, in my experience, at least in my experience, let's say you can look at inspiration from, let's say, Steve Jobs or like Bill Gates or, like those people. It's very important, but you also need to understand that those people have so many people under them to be like, it's like you need a full army to be a general, right?
Yeah.
So, it's nice to get inspired by those people, but you also need to understand, okay, what about my circumstances were? What about his circumstances were? When was I born? How was the society like? That would be my advice, at least. Because some people are definitely, I don't know, let's say, born in the right circumstance. Some people are born in a difficult circumstance. And you have to really know who you are first. Because you might get like totally burned by looking at the wrong inspiration, I would say.
Yeah, that's important. Not get burned out.
Because for example, right, like let's say there are a lot of guys in Southeast Asia or Latin American countries, and because they don't speak English and because of their like political stance, they can't get the visa, or you know what I mean, right? They can't get exposure because majority of the entertainment industry is ruled by English-speaking culture and people, so it's not only just hey, like talent will take you everywhere. No, it's a lot of things, and my advice would be like definitely check your own circumstance and then start from there.
I think it's important to be like dramatic because it's also the case and it's a reality, but I also want to emphasize the fact that it's a really, really fun job and we're lucky to be doing it. It's and even without talking about a job, it's a super awesome, like drawing and doing arts is amazing in itself. I mean, the journey is awesome, whether you're professional or not. And I think this is like, it should be, like reality is harsh. The industry is, severe. But in the end, I mean, the journey is always like, it's super awesome. You're meeting awesome people. This community is great. I think we need to emphasize this as well because we're also being dramatic. which I think we need to be because it's the reality and it's the hidden reality. But in the end, it's really all worth it. Honestly, it's really all worth it.
Yeah. Definitely.
And you have to understand, you're one of the soldiers that is shaping the aesthetics of our contemporary entertainment, and that will in turn will shape the future.
Yeah. Speaking of future, where do you see the industry headed? Like
The Matrix.
the Matrix. Yeah, dude. Speak seriously.
Mm, it might be very Chinese oriented in the next couple of years. I mean,
Chinese market oriented.
yeah, Chinese market oriented.
Because did you guys also picked up the trend where a lot of games are doing lots of Asian culture for at least 1 or 2 years? I think lots of Asian culture games, like for example, Total War made Three Kingdoms, and that was one of the biggest sales, as the news said.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like a merging of, and all the entertainment industry, by the way, a merging between the West and the East, and it could be very interesting to see how it turns out. But yeah, I see more and more Chinese. I mean, even in small companies like in or in mobile games or anything, right? It's yeah,
It's shifting towards Asian culture.
Asian culture definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, for the best. How do you see it?
Like first off, nowadays I see freelance artists really not dominating, but they're very like with the internet and the way that things are nowadays, freelance is becoming easier than ever. You know,
Right.
If instantaneous file transfer, Skype calls, you know, things that like there's entire companies out there that don't have any in-house artists nowadays. Like that's pretty incredible. That wasn't like that a couple years ago, you know.
Yeah. Like remote working is more and more
Didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, it didn't
10
exist.
years ago was just 10 years ago.
Didn't even work. I've that's all I've ever done is remote work. You know, I work with the studio in Quebec daily, and instant send a message on Skype, boom, they get it, they see it, they send feedback instant. I upload a 500 megabyte 3D file, the OBJ that's super high poly from Oculus Medium. They get it in like a minute. You know, it's crazy how that works.
And give instant feedback, work on top, send it back. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can only see it growing.
Yeah, like we're working more and more. Like even us, we're working more and more with outsource more than in-house artists for many reasons. But like there's a certain flexibility with working with remote people.
Yeah,
and I think that's like even, and not just for the entertainment industry, but the 9 to 6 typical job, like with the hours and stuff. I think this is leaving because like companies that want to grow, they want to grow 24/7, and like when everyone is home at 7 p.m., well, you could work with someone who's starting his day on the other side of the globe, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a guy from Malaysia on my
flexibility is
project, and he's working in the middle of the night. You know, we're going 24/7 practically.
Yeah. And I think companies tend to prefer this because, I mean, they're open 24/7 and they're growing 24/7.
Yep.
And the classical way of seeing things, which is it worked like 10 years ago, like 20 years ago.
So it's also flattening the market.
It is.
Because check this out, dude. Like I said, like due to political reason or, you know, like language, cultural reasons or geographical problems, there are really good people in, let's say, non-speaking English countries who are really talented and who we truly believe deserve to get paid for their talent.
Yeah.
You know, thanks to all this technological shit, dude. I think the YouTube video just went out.
Really?
Yeah. Wait, we're back. Hold on.
It's on.
We're getting circles.
I'm not sure. Twitch is still live, so I'm not too worried about it.
Cool. So, there are people who actually really deserve to work, you know, to get real job and not be trapped by some.
They will.
And now, because due to this high-speed internet, 5G, instantaneous payment, instantaneous communication stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys are finally getting the chance to come out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It's great. That's how I see it.
But also money-wise, it's gonna, because everyone has different currencies. Everyone has different base salaries. Like a base salary in Asia wouldn't be the same as in Australia, for example. Like a base salary, and it also will flatten the way like the general payroll among the industry. I think. But
Yeah.
I'm curious about how this is going to turn out.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. I certainly know that some of my friends from especially like Asian countries, they like working with the US because they make tons of money.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, it's so cheap here, and I'm making like so and so hundreds, 400 or 500 a day from US companies, like crazy money for living in a place that's so cheap, and they love it. And if the work quality is up there, dude, they'll pay
Get a
you.
job in Hollywood and live in the Arctics.
Yeah. Well, it might be
You won't
expensive
pay
to live in
tax.
But that's also the remote, because then like companies, they would tend to try to outsource more towards like I know here we're outsourcing South America, for example.
Mhm.
We could and India was at some point an outsource, which means it kind of it also flattens the market, because the salary is lower here, so companies pay less. But in the long run, it also like kind of harms the other freelancers, other outsource,
Mhm.
from Australia,
because the guys who live in expensive countries get
the payroll they would get from a minimum.
kicked in the ass because of this.
Looks like YouTube's working good now.
Yeah,
But that's interesting. I think we're
living in interesting times.
in a transition.
Yeah. We live in crazy times, dude. Imagine talking to someone like 100 years ago and being like, "Guess what? Like, this is what I do for a living. And then I've got this weekend. I've got a call with a couple people in Paris. I don't even leave home. I haven't left home for a week. All my food's delivered to my door.
Oh yeah, this is actually the best thing ever.
And I don't even write a letter. I just click buttons.
Yeah. I don't give him money.
And you see faces in them.
Buttons again.
What?
Yeah.
That's heresy.
It's crazy. You can't even imagine when it's going to be like in 100 years from now. Or if we're all even going to be here. Total nuclear annihilation. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have hope.
Yeah, I do
humanity.
too.
I think, look, man, I don't think we're going to mess up that bad. I think even if we do, we'll still try to manage somehow.
Yeah.
But I get it. A lot of us will die. But,
It's for the cause.
Humans have extreme. Like, if you think about World War II level mobilization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can totally do that at one point.
Yeah.
Was right.
I mean, just look at your watch, for example. Like, that's pretty awesome. Insanity, dude.
The guy's high tech.
Oh, anyways,
Awesome.
if you guys want to start getting wrapped up.
Yeah, sure. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting talking with you guys. Like, next time we should do this definitely with like wine or something. Let's make it comfortable.
Yeah. Sorry if I did not make any sense today. I slept quite a bit less than 3 hours last night, so
everyone, that's the regular FTD regimen you do.
No, it's not because I was working like crazy. It's because I'm an idiot at managing my schedule right now. Especially when your girlfriend goes to China and you have to flip your schedule to match hers, but it doesn't work out quite right. So
yeah, but that was awesome. Thank you guys.
Yep,
it was really nice.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming, and it'd really be nice to have you on again someday.
Yeah, like with wine again, or like if you come to Europe at some point. Huh?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You have a place to crash.
Yep, definitely.
No, he's gonna crash at my place.
I'll be invited. You're gonna be disappointed because, man, flats in Paris is like so small and expensive.
Oh, God, dude.
It's worst.
That sucks. Yeah,
Thank you,
man.
man.
All right. Thank you for coming, and you guys have a safe trip home.
Yeah, it's
What-
getting late now. It's getting dark now.
Yeah. How far do you guys have to go home? Is it like
Uh,
pretty close?
35 minutes
Yeah,
from the office.
15 minutes for myself. Should be
Yeah.
okay.
5 minutes?
15. It's okay.
Oh, then
We got
whatever.
the-
I don't care
We got
about you guys.
the bicycle thing, right? How's it
Yeah.
go?
The little scooters that
Ding,
you
ding. Oh, yeah.
do the phone app.
Lime
Mm.
scooters.
Oh, bird
It's
or
really-
something?
Dude, it's so cool, right? They have this app scooter.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's all over
And
here.
you just download the app, you hook up your credit card, and then when you get on, you use it to unlock, and you go to your destination, and you click again to close it.
Wow.
And it's almost like Uber, but you're on a scooter.
Yeah, it's like bird, right?
It's like bird. It's
lift,
electric.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, line, right?
Yeah.
Line.
Crazy. What a time to be alive.
Living the dream. Living the dream.
Yeah.
Living the dream, paying high taxes here.
Yay.
Oh, all right.
Thanks, Cole, for having us.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And everybody, we will see you next week. Oh, by the way, Burin is not going to be here next week.
Yes, I'm gonna go to Poland with my girlfriend
Yes. So,
to a big event. So
yes, that is going to be awesome, and you're going to have a great time. And
thank you. I'll come back with a
Yes.
lot of news. I love my girlfriend so much.
Aw. And my girlfriend's in bed right now. Let's see. So it looks like I may bring on a guest or something next week and probably actually do some critiques.
Awesome.
Or maybe I'll oversleep and will not do any session. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Depending on how the Friday and Saturday goes.
Yeah. All right. So Burin not gonna be here next week, and then we will see you everybody, and this will be uploaded on YouTube in a number of hours. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll make a post in the Discord and on the Facebook and stuff when this is up. Ooh.
Can you dig it?
Dude, I grew
Can
up
you
on that
dig
movie. I was
it?
gonna tell you, The Warriors. I actually
Yeah,
grew
The
up.
Warriors.
I actually grew up on that movie. So, okay.
Oh, Warriors, come out and play.
so, my dad loved that movie. He made me and my brother watch it a whole bunch of times. All right. Anyways, we're ending. We will catch you everybody later.
Cheers.
See ya.
Thank you.